Today we'll look over how to best utilize the term planning tool, some features, and how to access the information as well as track our progress. The first feature we want to show you is how to expand the cell's information. Right now everything is at a collapsed view, so it's good to see how your term will lay out with each individual course and kind of approximately when you'll be done, as long as you follow the pacing guides. Each week we want to see what the goals are for the week and what the expectation is. If you select the cell and go to Format and Auto Fit Row Height, you'll see that the cell expands to the maximum amount of data that's in there. And you can see for this week, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 more modules we've got to complete. Assuming that we get it all done, or if we need to look at it from a different view or want to go back to the original yearly view, you can go to the format and then select row height again, and the default is 15. And that shrinks everything back down. Again, it can be any one of these cells. You can do multiple cells at the same time, but again, the format and auto fit row height, and then the format row height back to 15 will get you back down to that collapsed view. It's important to be able to do that and feel comfortable doing that, working through each week's goals. Speaking of goals, we have a column over here. This is designed to determine if we met our goals or not. So for this week, as long as we completed everything in our week's progress, we want to say, yes, we did meet that goal. So in the drop-down list, we would go ahead and select yes, and automatically it defaults to 20 hours. All of these goals in the pacing guides are all predicated on 20 hours of study time. So if it took you 15 hours to complete it, I'm still going to give you credit for 20 because that's what the minimum WG requires for each week's progress and dedication towards their studies. But also, we believe in the competency model. So if it took you 15 hours and you had somewhere 5 hours of life experience that helped you get through this quicker, I definitely want to make sure you get credit for that 20 hours. If the next week you went ahead and you completed that goal and it took you 25 hours, go ahead and put in 25 hours. What I'm trying to do is show a correlation to academic success and the time dedicated towards those goals. So we can see as we go through our goals, obviously you would want to, I'm doing this arbitrarily, but you would want to make sure you did reach your goals or not, and track them. But if you didn't reach your goal and you put in 5 hours, there's a reason why you didn't. 5 hours probably not enough time to get through each week's goals. But again, we want to just be able to track it. And again, if it took you 15, I want to give you credit for 20. But if you put in 30 hours to reach that goal, put in the time. There is a strong correlation to academic success and the time dedicated to the studies. Not only will this help us see, are we putting in the right amount of time for the course, but also for our degree. At the very bottom here, I've got a total. Basically, this is 80 hours I've just kind of randomly put in there. And so at the end of a term, you can see how much time you've put in towards your studies and have you been successful or not. If it was 80 hours for the full term, for full 6 months, you're probably not going to see that much academic success. You may, but chances are you need to put in a lot more time to be successful. This kind of leads me to the graduation outlook. This is just kind of a scenario calculator, and if we look at this 80 hours, what I've done is had it carry over into the term hours completed, and I've used a master's program as the number of credits and in the scenario to show students how they can be, or how they can track their progress towards graduation. This top black area shows just the generic. There is 34 units in the MBA. Each unit represents about 2 weeks worth of work. And there's 20 hours of study time per week, and there's 26 weeks per term. So basically the math was 26 times 20 hours, 26 weeks times 20 hours, and it gave us 520 hours. If you're not putting in about 520 hours a term, you're probably not going to get through your courses as quickly as you should. I took it a few steps further. That's about 1,400 hours to graduate. It's a little over 16 and a half months to graduate in 1.4 years, we'll say. As well. They're all the same number, but it's laid out in hours, months, and years. And again, we can see that this hours, it transferred from this term planning area over down in the bottom right, and it carries over to this kind of running calculator, and this is the green area, that's the term progress totals. So we can see that this 80 hours, it's subtracted from this 520 to get us 440. And again, the remaining study hours to graduate is reduced, the months and also the years are reduced. So this is kind of a fun way to kind of track our progress and see weekly how much time we are chipping away at to get closer to our academic goals. Again, these two, they're going to be fairly static. Um, Other than this term hours, we're not going to need to do too much each week to update this. But for our example now, I'm just going to delete this out of here so we have a zero balance. So let's just say I'm starting from day one. I really do want to have you try to treat your studies like a part-time job. And this is where the daily log hours come in. It's kind of like your time card. So the best thing we can do to see if we are putting in the right amount of time or where we can put additional time in is to track it. So if we're putting in, let's just say we're supposed to get to 20, but Sunday we do really well. We put in 3 hours. Monday we put in 2. We're getting a little bit busier. Wednesday it's really busy. I'm sorry, Tuesday a little bit busier, but Wednesday and Thursday we didn't get anything done. Friday we're trying to pick it back up, and Saturday we're just tired and we put a half hour in. So after a long, busy week, we're thinking, oh, I put in enough time. But as it calculated, we can see that there's only 7.5 hours that we actually studied, just based on our time card. Again, this is, we need another 12.5 hours to go based on the 20-hour work week towards academic progress. So what I would recommend you do, copy and paste this into an email, send it to your mentor each week, and just say, here's my study time for this week. This is not for the mentor to yell at you or praise you or anything other than making sure you have another layer of accountability. So if we wanted to, we'll just say this is the week that we were working on. We didn't reach our goal, and we put in 7.5 hours. That's good for you to put that in there. It's good for the mentor to put in there as well. So again, we can kind of keep track of what the hours are. Another great tip for this is you can see Tuesday. Did I have more time on Tuesday? Did I have more time on Wednesday and Thursday? Where can I make up some time to get this number as close to 20 as we can, or if not, above 20? What I've done here in this last section is just a time scenario calculator. And what I've done is if you just study 20 hours a week based on what you've got left to graduate, it calculates about how much you're going to pay in tuition. This is an approximation. But again, 20 hours, everything's predicated on 20 hours of study time. So we've got 1.38 years, and again, 1.38 years. Here's the part that's very important to realize. If 7.5 hours is your weekly average of academic progress, you'll see these numbers change very negatively. And I'll go ahead. I just entered in 7.5 just as an example purposes, and we'll see. We just added another 2.3 years to graduate. If that's your average, and again, academic time, our academic progress is really predicated on how much time you can put in. So it's okay if you do graduate in 3.6, 3.7 years, but you're going to add another 2.3 years, another 27 months to graduate. And really, from this point on, it's going to cost us, in my tuition calculator, another $22,000 based on WGU's tuition, or it's an additional almost $14,000 to graduate. So this is a good, fun little calculator scenario to mess around with the numbers. If you put in 10 hours a week on average, if you can get in, you can see these numbers change, and, it's not as bad. But again, we want to get you back to 20, so you can see we're back to 1.3, 1.4 years in this master's program kind of scenario. But another great thing is, let's just say we are studying 3 hours a day. That's what we want, 2.5, 3 hours a day. That gets us to about 21 hours. So if we just 3 hours a day, we can see 21 hours. It's going to go from 1.38 years to 1.32, which isn't that significant because we're chipping away a little bit, but not that much. But let's just say we can put in an additional 2 more hours of study time each week. So instead of putting in 21, I'm just going to say we started at 20. So if we do 2 hours a day times 7 days a week, that's going to be 14 more hours a week. So that'll give us a total of 34 hours. Check out what happens if you just put in 2 more hours a day. It went from 1.38 to basically 8 months, or 0.8 years. I'm sorry, that's 9.75 months, just under 10 months. And what it does to your tuition is you'll save about $3,400, and you only have about $4,800, $4,900 left in tuition. So we can see what's the small changes on a daily basis due to our academic success. For me, I was in the MBA program, and I purposely put this calculator together to show you my results. I graduated in 8 months in this 2-year program, and I had to kind of reverse engineer what I was doing. So, or for this program to show, did I study 20 hours a week? I probably studied, I definitely studied more, but we can see just based on the months to graduate, it was 16.58. So I just entered in, did I study 30 hours? Well, that brought me to graduate at 11 months. Did I study 40 hours? That's at 8.29. So I'm getting close. I graduated right at 8 months. So was it, sorry, I messed up. 40 hours and 15 minutes. Nope. I think it was a total of 41 and a half hours a week. That's just under 8. And when I do the calculations, it's about 6 hours a day I was studying, and I don't expect any student to study 6 hours a week, or I'm sorry, 6 hours a day to study. But that's basically what it or took me to get through my courses. I really just put in a year and a half's worth of work into 8 months, or 2 years worth of work into 8 months, and you can see how the time correlation of my progress led to me graduating in 8 months. So hopefully this is a good example tutorial for you. And yeah, if you have any questions, ask your mentor.